All right, so just again, as always, I'd love to reiterate this. I can't say it enough times. You should start to really understand this process, this system, how it works, and I hope by now you're starting to see how we're putting the pieces together so that these skills or things necessary for you to be successful are not just dependent on you. There's the data and the technology that we build around you, the team that we build around you to augment and access these things at the highest level possible for each of you. And I'm going to describe um, what the process where I started to come up with this system in describing what I saw as problems and opportunities and challenges for realtors. I was blessed to run a successful office with a lot of great agents, and my personality and my style is not to sit back on our laurels. I never was satisfied with our productivity or production in any given year. I was grateful for it, and I was proud of it, and I was happy with it. But I always felt I owed it to our agents, the office, to in my role to always find where we could improve, always find where are the things that are holding us back from really accomplishing what we could do. And I would track the process of our business, of an agent's business, of a real estate transaction, of a marketing cycle, and I would track notes like this, and I finally put it down and started putting it down on paper, and it looked kind of like this. Let me make sure. And I can share this with you, but this is something that's been driving us for a couple of years. And if you look at the very top left, it's an active listing, right? And real estate starts when someone wants to sell a house. Someone wants to move somewhere, or there's some other issue, and they're like, I'm not going to live here anymore. I want to sell it to someone else. And that's really where we start everything. So we built a lot of processes and examples of what we do, and we won't go into all of them. But you should recognize a lot of the steps here. You should recognize a lot of the things. An active listing, as soon as you get it, there's things that you can do with your title company, pull farms, go out and get the 200 closest homes, do an open house, create buyer leads. Once you create those buyer leads, they should go into your technology as A, B, or C leads. A lead, Spacio, Real Scout, moving into Moxie Engage, which you should have seen. All of that used to augment the business plan. That's what the BP up there stands for. Your goals, your scripts, your schedule, and accountability to make sure that those leads you create eventually become a transaction. And then you see the process there. Leads are either pre-qualified or not pre-qualified. Partner with our lenders to really increase the efficiency, increase the productivity, and going through there. You get them pre-qualified. You hand them off to the buyer's agent if you're a team leader, or yourself if you're operating by yourself. You close them. As soon as you close the deal, you start the drip automation. Immediately on close of escrow for your buyers, they become a C seller. And again, I was mentioning yesterday, that's the kind of mentality you have to have. So they immediately become a C seller. You put them into drip campaigns. It goes all the way over, and it goes into this this process where you're starting the listing search through geo farming, door knocking, Remind, cold calling, referrals, SOI, past clients, direct mail, all augmented with tech. Then you build all of those systems into Moxie Engage again through satisfying your business plan, goals, scripts, schedules, and accountability until it becomes an active listing. And it starts over and over and over. And if it starts with a seller lead there in the middle, you're using Spacio, you're using Real Scout, you're using EEP, you're using all the technologies and tools and training you have until it becomes a listing. And so this is complicated, and this is a lot of work, and this is why a lot of agents struggle. The ones who do well have created systems, have created the models to really minimize their effort between and during each one of these steps to focus on the prospecting, and that's where we want you to be. And then I noted down here different problems that agents have. The first bucket on the top left there is lead generation. Most agents find themselves not generating enough leads. They don't have enough lead sources. They don't know the best activities to generate leads. And they're constantly in that struggle of how do you find that? And the second column there is some of the potential activities or solutions, right? You need to focus on increasing lead campaign initiatives, expand lead sources that will create highest return on time and investment, lead sources that will provide greatest conversion rates. And then you go into technologies and systems as you move to the right. You leverage sphere of influence, friends, family, social media strategies, farming, social market specialists, referrals from other agents, open houses, and it goes on and on and on. Again, very complicated. A lot of things are involved here. And most agents, they're constantly mired in the struggle of operating through process and through these systems. And what 4DX does, it puts you on a playing field where everything is regimented, everything has a time, a place, an order, and you build on each block. You master one, you move to the next. You master another, you set the system in place, you hit the button, it goes, and then you build another. And so this is how you build your models. This is how you build your systems. This is how you reach the goals that you set for yourself every year. But you do it with good intentions. You really are committed to making it happen, making it work, but then the business gets in the way. All of these issues, all of these problems, and most of us are not set up to solve them. And this is where I created a system where I thought we had all the pieces in place. I thought we had, with the agent representing the brokerage and mastering whatever time and money they had, mastering the data capacities of their title partners, utilizing the training provided by their offices, their managers, their trainers, utilizing the systems that are already in place or are created through this process, and then utilizing the people that the brokerage hires to help you in all these areas to create an operational system that allows it to happen, right? So, still confusing? Don't worry, this is the purpose of this meeting today, so we can start to break it down. And it is with this, it's a simple little book, 4 Disciplines of Execution. And as I said, our fearless founder and leader, Gino Blafari, dubbed it the West Coast Offense for Business. So I'm stealing it from him. I hope he doesn't get mad at me. If you guys sell a lot of houses, he won't get mad at me. So my butt's on the line. You guys can help me here. And I love it. And I think you're going to like it too. And I wanted to start with that jumble, that mess, all those lines, that kind of a real visual of how complicated and how difficult your job is. And nobody understands that and nobody cares about that except you and your peers, because we're the only one that sees that. Real estate, general life in general, they're a really bad idea of who we are, what we do, or a really silly, grandiose example of drinking wine all day and negotiating multi-million-dollar deals over 2 or 3 phone calls and then going and spending our 30, 40, 50, $100,000 checks. It's nowhere like either one of them, right? It's just a grind. It's a business. It's a job. It's a business. And those of us that master that, those of us that really execute at a high level, get close to that ideal that we see on television. And I want to help you try to get there. All right. So I want to start with this, and it's a long one, but I need to read it to you because I really need you to understand it at a fundamental level. Because this is the challenge that we have in brokerage and a miscommunication we have with our agents. And it's this idea early on in one of the chapters in this book that the challenges we have in this business are because we don't master strategy and execution, and it's because we don't understand it, right? So they write, there are 2 principal things a leader can influence when it comes to producing results: your strategy or plan and your ability to execute that strategy. But stop for a moment and ask yourself this question. Which of these do leaders struggle with more? Is it creating a strategy or executing a strategy? Every time we pose this question to leaders anywhere in the world, the answer is immediate. It's execution. That's passing the buck. Um, Now ask yourself a second question. If EA or have taken business classes, what did you study more, execution or strategy? When leaders are asked this question, the response once again is immediate strategy. It's perhaps not surprising that the area with which leaders struggle most is also the one in which they have the least education. Now, mind you, in this case, Jess and I are leaders, and this is part of our problem, but you are the leader in your real estate business, and this is part of your problem. After working with thousands of leaders and teams in every kind of industry and in schools and government agencies worldwide, this is what we've learned. Once you've decided what to do, your biggest challenge is in getting people to execute it at the level of excellence you need. Once you set your goals for how many houses you want to sell in a year and how much money you want to make, that's the easy part. The hard part is, how are you going to get it done? So why is execution so difficult? After all, if the strategy is clear and you as a leader are driving it, won't the team naturally engage to achieve it? The answer is no. And it's likely that your own experience has proven this more than once. The book you are reading represents the most actionable and impactful insights from all that we've learned. In it, you will discover a set of disciplines that have been embraced by thousands of leaders and hundreds of thousands of frontline workers, enabling them to produce extraordinary results. That's a lot. That's a mouthful. But it is so true, and I hope you start to see it as we go through these slides and how we accomplish it. It's always natural for a leader to assume that the people are the problem. After all, they are the ones not doing what we need to have done. But you would be wrong. The people are not the problem. Jess and I want this office to be the largest on the West Coast. If it doesn't happen, it's not the agent's fault. It would be Jess's and my fault. The people are never the problem. W. Edward Deming, the father of the quality movement, taught that anytime the majority of the people behave a particular way, the majority of the time, the people are not the problem. The problem is inherent in the system. As a leader, you own responsibility for the system. And that's what we're doing through Surge. That's what Jess and I want to accomplish through Surge. We want to take responsibility for why aren't we the largest office on the West Coast? We have great agents. They all want to improve. They all want to grow. They all want to sell more houses. So what is the issue? Well, here's part of it. The real problem with execution. Important goals that require you to do new and different things often conflict with the whirlwind of the day job, made up of urgencies that consume your time and energy. So think about those of you who have called me or emailed me and have said, I love the training. I see this. That's what I need to do, but I don't have time. I can't get to the schedule. I can't get to the business plan. I can't get to the training. I can't get to getting my 500 home farm in one of the 3 key cities in our market. And what you may or may not understand, and I hope you do going forward, is when you say you don't have time to do the things you really, really want to do and really, really want to improve on to reach the goals you really, really want to achieve, it's because you're in the whirlwind. You're in your day job. That's what we call it in 4DX, the whirlwind or your day job. It's urgent, but it acts on you. Someone called and needs to reschedule. Someone called and canceled a meeting. You're planning to do something today and your child is ill. It's all real things. They're all important and they're part of your life. You can't get rid of them, but you have to realize these are the things that act on you and they are urgent, but your goals and your activities are important. And there's a difference between urgent and important. And the difference between goals and the whirlwind is you act on your goals. You control that. When I've told you in the past, in your schedule, dollar producing activities trump everything else. And I said, but life will happen. And if you schedule a dollar producing activity for Tuesday at 10 and something in your life happens and you can't do it, that's fine. But you have to realize that was urgent, an urgent item displacing an important item. You can't do away with it. You have to move that lost hour of important goal-reaching activities to another time in the week. You cannot lose it. It'll kill your business. So executing in spite of the whirlwind means overcoming not only its powerful distraction, but also the inertia of the way it's always been done. We're not saying that the whirlwind is bad. It isn't. It keeps your organization and your business alive, and you can't ignore it. If you ignore the urgent, it can kill you today. It's also true, however, that if you ignore the important, it can kill you tomorrow. So these are what the 4 disciplines look like. surrounded by a compelling scoreboard. By the way, if you get emails from the Tom Ferry organization, talk about timely. He said he has a brand new secret way to get you busy, and it's a scoreboard. Well, he beat me by 10 minutes because that's when the email went out, but I was already planning to tell you the secret of Tom Ferry's success, and that's keeping a compelling scoreboard. So I thought that was funny. The 4 disciplines of execution are all about producing great results. The disciplines point from right to left because great teams execute from right to left. They hold themselves consistently accountable for performance on lead measures, which in turn drives achievement of wildly important goals. The compelling scoreboard is central because it displays the success measures on the goals for all to see. The cadence of accountability surrounds the other disciplines because it holds everything together. So when I mentioned that you've been in the 4 disciplines of execution, this should start to make sense. The 5 o'clock accountability, the check-in, is the cadence of accountability. Every day at 5 weeks in, you should know I've got to call in and report, what did I do? How was my day? What did I achieve? How many calls? How many emails? How many texts? And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. It's okay. It's just a scoreboard, right? It's the first quarter or the second quarter, the other team is up, but you have time to come back and win, or you've got a big lead. That doesn't mean you can't lose. You've got to maintain that lead. You've got to maintain that pace. And that's the cadence of accountability. And that's the schedule we created, right? And then we've created lead measures. And the lead measure is simply the activities you do to reach your goals. So we tell you in the daily calendar during Surge, right? You're going to go at 8 o'clock and you're going to train. And then at 9:30, you're going to go to script practice. And then from 10 to 11, you're going to call your database or the just mets or past clients or something, right? Those are lead measures. How many calls did you make? How often are you calling your farm? And then we give you homework. Create some note cards. Send a postcard. Write a letter. Those are lead measures. Those are activities. And I mentioned to you, do you know how many times you need to dial the phone to create an appointment? Well, the dials to an appointment is a lead measure to the lag measure of an appointment. Know what is necessary to create the action you want. I want an appointment. We've told you throughout Surge, every day you wake up as a realtor, your number one goal is to set an appointment. Well, what are the things you need to do each day to generate an appointment? Those are the lead measures. Now, an appointment is a lead measure to a listing. How many appointments do you need to be on to get a listing? Your proficiency at the listing appointment, your success rate, is a lead measure to closing a deal. And so there's a process, there's a progress through it, and you need to understand each step, and you need to understand your ability and your success rate at each step, and you get that through the scoreboard. All of that allows you to always focus on the wildly important goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of this process. And then if you say, I want to sell 5 houses this year, you may go from January through June and not sell a house. And you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to reach my goal. But if you're doing the lead measures and you're focused on, I'm making all the calls, I'm doing the training, I'm sending the letters, I'm sending the emails, I'm sending the texts, and you know or have some idea of how many of those activities it takes to get a deal, you can be from January to June with nothing and know I'm still on track to close my 5 deals this year. And that's what should drive you. Always the lead measures, always the activities that lead to the action that you ultimately want, your wildly important goal. So focus on the wildly important. Know what the whirlwind is, know what your goals are, and narrow your focus here. Practicing Discipline 1 means narrowing your focus to a few highly important goals so you can manageably achieve them in the midst of the whirlwind of the day job. Simply put, Discipline 1 is about applying more energy against fewer goals. The law of diminishing returns is as real as the law of gravity. What is the law of diminishing returns? The more energy and effort you put into multiple things, the less effective you are in each one. Versus if you take your energy, you take your budget of time, you take your budget of money and put it into 1 or 2 or 3 really important goals, your chance of success is much higher. All right. And so that's one of the concepts that you need to learn. And this is what it looks like. If you have 11 to 20 goals, you're probably not going to achieve any of them. If you have 4 to 10 big goals, you might achieve 1 or 2 of them. But if you have only 2 or 3 big goals, the likelihood, because you're focusing all your time, all your effort on those 2 or 3 things, your likelihood of achieving them and achieving them with excellence really skyrockets. And that's where we want you to be. So when you start to think about the focusing on the wildly important, it's counterintuitive to so many things that we're taught in society and in business. And here's what I mean by that. The conventional thinking is all of our goals are priority one. It's all important. We can successfully multitask and succeed at 5, 10, or 15 important goals. All we need to do is work harder and longer. That's old school real estate. It's a numbers game. Just put in more time. Just put in more effort. Just spend 1 more hour. Just spend 1 more day in your business and it'll happen. And that did work and it has worked, but it's changing. Versus the 4DX principle, many of our goals are important, but only 1 or 2 are wildly important. We call them our WIGs. You can start to hear that term. That's what we're talking about. They are the goals we must achieve. Our finest effort can only be given to 1 or 2 wildly important goals at a time. Some of you that have started going over your budget with me and your scheduling and things, they ask, well, what is the budget? I said, well, your first budget is what you need to survive, what you need to pay PG&E every month, what you need to put your kid through college, what you need. Those are things to survive. Those are the basic minimum. That's your first goal, right? That's wildly important. I need to pay my mortgage. I need to put away X amount for retirement. And then you might have bigger goals. You might say, well, I'd love a bigger home. I'd love a second home. I'd love a better car. I want to take 1 vacation or 2 vacations a year. And you can set those as goals, but you have to identify which are the most important ones. Well, the way I see life, it's more important to make sure you have electricity tomorrow than your second house. But once you establish a pattern and rhythm where you're not ever worried about paying your bills, then you can start focusing on a new wildly important goal, which is making that investment purchase, making that dream purchase. And that's how WIGs work. And that's foundational. It's fundamental. You can't get to the dream without handling the basic. One reason you may drive your team to take on too much is that as a leader, you tend to be ambitious and creative. You're exactly the kind of individual organizations like to promote. The problem is that creative, ambitious people always want to do more, not less. If this describes you, you're almost hardwired to violate the first discipline of execution. You're always going on into multiple things. You go on a webinar, you hear a brand new advertising for a new system, a new tool, you're like, that's what I've needed. And you haven't mastered the fundamentals. But you're always listening to the new, greatest, the best, and things like this, and you move on before you fundamentally achieve success in what you had been doing. So there will always be more good ideas. Don't ever feel like, well, I have to jump on it because this is the best thing ever. The next best thing will come along. I guarantee it, right? And what this says is there will always be more good ideas than there is capacity to execute. So I'll tell you what's a great idea. A great idea in real estate is mastering your sphere of influence and putting them into a database and calling them once a month if they're an A or B, calling them twice a month if they're a C, creating a drip campaign through Moxie Engage for emails, neighborhood updates, just listed, just sold. That's a fantastic idea. It's an old idea, but most realtors haven't mastered it yet. So they're like, well, that's an old idea. Let me go on to the next leg, greatest best thing. Guess what? That's a mistake. There's always be more good ideas than there is the capacity to execute. Once you've executed at a high level, a great idea, even if it's an old idea, then you can move on to the next without losing what you built in the first one. So while you don't lose track of the numbers in the whirlwind, discipline one requires intense focus on one number, the measure of success on the wildly important goals. Okay, and here's what it looks like, right? And I shared this with my past office because I wanted them to understand I'm doing the same things I'm preaching to you. So think about whatever your issue is or what you want to accomplish, and I'll show you my example, and it's Jess's example for Cupertino because that's what Brian wants us to do, right? And so my wildly important goals as a leader of an office were retention and profitability. I knew I had to create an office where agents loved it, they were successful, and no amount of recruiting from somewhere else would take them from me. And then the second thing I wanted to do, So as a mid-level manager, I wanted to keep the people I was in charge of happy. And then I said, the next most important thing is profitability, because as a middle manager, I wanted to keep the people above me happy. And so this is what I chose as, I got a lot of things to do. I have tasks to do every single day, every week, every month, but every single day I have to wake up and say, these are the two most important things. And when I was finished with my day, I had to think, did I have a good day in my two most important things? A lot of things happened in between, but I had to make sure I never lost sight of these two things. And then here's how it would work, right? So, okay, retention, I want my agents to stay. For you, it could be, I want 20 listings, whatever it is, right? So for me, under retention, I said, well, if I can increase the number of listings in my office and I can increase the number of sales in my office, that means my agents are doing better and they're making more money and they're happy. Therefore, they'll stay and my retention will increase, right? And so increasing listings is important. Increasing sales is important, but it's not as important to me as making sure my agents are happy. It just so happens that those are two important sub-items that I needed to create and maintain to reach my wildly important goal. And so you're going to learn that. And you say, listings is my top priority. Everything has to feed listings. Okay, so the war is you're getting more listings. Well, your battles are going to be, let me look at your schedule. Because are you set up to do the things that you're going to need to do every day to get more listings? Let me look at your business plan. Are you set up and organized in an efficient way so that you can reach that goal? Well, let me look at your budget for time and money. Because to say you want 20 listings is one thing, have the time and the capital in your business to achieve it is another. Those are the battles. All of them important, but none of them supersede getting more listings. They're just a part of that process. And that's what we're trying to teach you in Search. Systematically, organized. So when I'm telling you, turn in your plan, turn in your schedule, I will help you there. I am telling you, I will help you get more listings. But I need you to understand it starts with those fundamental battles that you face every single day. And then when you respond, well, I don't have time. Well, that's because the whirlwind of the day is acting on you and you're not acting on your priorities. So you've got to overcome that. You've got to find the time and get those things in order. But then you can really turn your attention without succumbing to the whirlwind to the most important goals in your business, in your life. And then you just build a tree like that. Eventually, your business will look like this. What are the most important things I need to accomplish every day? What are the things below that that I need to organize and execute so that I reach my goals? And what are all the pieces below that that go and build and ultimately get me where I want to be? You can absolutely do this, and we can show you and we can help you each step of the way. All it is, that crazy chart, that flow chart that I started with, that's all it is. Which are the most important? How do you start? How do you organize it? How do you put appropriate time and effort into each step so that you ultimately always progress towards your ultimate goal of more listings? All right, so let's dig into the first discipline. This is a great example. So right now, let's say that you're air traffic controller and there are more than 100 airplanes approaching, and sorry for the dogs. And as your job is to maintain those airplanes coming in, they're all important, right? All of them are relying on you to land safely. But as the air traffic controller, only one airplane is wildly important right now. And that's the one that's landing right now. That doesn't mean you forget about the rest. You have a process, you have a system, you have an order, and you know you'll get to them in order of priority. Order of priority is which one's landing next, which one's landing now. As soon as you land that one safely as the air traffic controller, you move to the next one. And now that is your wildly important goal. And they all still remain important, and you have a system and you have a process, but your focus is the next one landing, which one is landing now. And you need to learn that as a realtor, right? Or what's the most important activity right now? Dollar producing activities: listing, selling, prospecting, negotiating. Those four things always come first. Those are your airplanes landing now. Well, your schedule is out there. Your budget is out there. You're creating your marketing campaign is out there. You're finding a farm and meeting with your title rep to really understand it is out there. But it's not landing right now. Prospecting, marketing, negotiating, those things are my priority. If you don't build a system where you can handle 100 planes in the air at one time, it's chaos. And you're going to have issues and you're going to have problems. And that describes most realtors in the business. It doesn't have to be that way. So try not to focus on more than 2 wigs at the same time. And all that means, that doesn't mean you're only doing 2 things. That just means you elevate them. These are the 2 most important. These 4 are next. These 8 are next. These 12 are next. Once you master the top one, maybe one in that second row moves up, or you increase the wig. Your wig may be, I want to sell 5 houses this year. And then you hit it. So maybe your wig doesn't change, but the amount does. Maybe next year your wig is, I want to sell 20 houses this year. So that's how you should look at it and how you should focus on building that business, right? So the battles you choose must win the war. Everything you talk about must feed into that rule, that most important thing. The sole purpose of wigs at lower levels in the organization and in your business is to help you achieve the wigs that you set. They can't just support or align with higher wigs. They must ensure the success of the higher wigs. I want more listings. Well, set up your farm. That ensures the success of the higher wig. You must have a farm and you must have a plan to farm it to get more listings. So you can't say, I want more listings, but I have no time to set up a farm. And I don't understand why I need to work with this group or do that. You have a plan. You need one. If you don't have one, we have one. Cut and paste. Rip off and duplicate. We know it works. We know you want more listings. We'll use our farm program until you master it and say, you know what, I have a better one. Now that I've mastered that plan, I have a better one. And then you execute yours. Right? Rule number 3, senior leaders can veto but not dictate. So as you're coming to me and you're showing me your plan, what this means is, based on my experience, based because on what I've done before and how I've accomplished, I have a good idea of what you want to do. And I'll tell you if I don't think it'll work. Ultimately, you choose. But this is the 4 disciplines, right? You rely on me and Jess and our experience building agents, building teams, building productivity to have the insight that you don't. You may have a goal, and we've seen that goal in many agents, and we know what works and what doesn't. And we may say, well, I think you might have to adjust that or change that. And that's how that process works, but share with us. So many of you are saying, I'm behind on my business plan. I said, just start it. I don't need it finished. The whole purpose of having trainers and having leaders and working with a brokerage with experience is we help you finish it. We help you fill it in. If you could do it on your own, why would you need me? If you could build your plan, build your schedule, execute at a high level, why would you need us? You wouldn't need us, right? And we want to make sure you need us, so we want to be really, really good at those things. So that's what I hope you start to understand, is we have our goals. Our wildly important goal is to be the biggest office on the West Coast. Somewhere below that is, I need to train our agents. I need to give them systems and tools that will allow them to all increase their business. Because if I can help them increase their business, that's going to help me feed my top goal, Jess's top goal of being the biggest company on the West Coast. And so that's how you think. There's that relationship from top to bottom. I desperately want you to build your business because I've put my reputation, Jess is putting his reputation on something. We're going to be the biggest office. Well, we know we can do it with your help, and you can do it at your level with our help, and that's the relationship we want to build, right? Rule number 4, all wigs must have a finish line in the form of from X to Y by when. So when your business plan, you're going to put in, I want to sell 10 houses by December 30th, 2020, all right? So you're at 0 now, or you're at 5 now, and you say from 5 listings to 10 listings by the end of the year. From 1 listing to 5 listings by the end of the year. From 1 listing to 50 listings a year by 5 years from now. Everything, every goal you set can't just be a wish list. It has to be a plan. And by putting it into the context of from X to Y by when, it's a simple plan. It's not a complete plan, but it's a start of a plan. So when I tell you, just turn in what you have in your business plan. It can be, I want to make $150,000 by the end of 2021. From X to Y by when? And then we'll fill it in. So the most famous example is landing a man on the moon, right? John F. Kennedy said, land a man on the moon and return him safely to the earth before this decade is out. From X, never landed a man on the moon, to Y, land the man on the moon by Y, before the decade is out. And everything that happened after that was a WIG war chart. Man on the moon was the war, the wildly important goal. Navigation, propulsion, life support were all battles, all vitally important. But at the president's level, he was focused on man on the moon. And then NASA came in and said, all right, your department, your wildly important goal is navigation. You don't need to care about anything else. You need to reach your goal, your highest, most important goal of mastering the navigation systems we need. This group, you need to master propulsion. This group, you need to master life support. And then each focused on that. And then they had their war and their battles beneath them. And that's how you'll build your business. You want to increase and improve your performance. Well, you need more listings and you need more buyers. All right. I need a program under listings. I need a farm. I need to talk to my past clients. I need to talk to my SOI. Under buyers, you need, okay, I need a better social media platform. I need better marketing. I need a better plan on how to find and negotiate and work with buyers. Those are your battles. So they all become part of what you do and how you do it. So from vague strategic intent to specific finish lines, that's what we'll create in your business plan under the 4 disciplines of execution. Too many organizational goals are hazy and imprecise, leaving people wondering what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it. Discipline 1 provides clear, unmistakable finish lines so people know exactly what success looks like. Number 2, act on the lead measures. There's performance and there's results, right? The second discipline is to apply disproportionate energy to the activities that drive your lead measures. This provides for leverage for your lag measures. This is the discipline of leverage. Imagine how many times you've heard me use the word leverage since we started search training. This is exactly what I was talking about and what I was leading to, right? So let's explain lag measures and lead measures and what they mean, right? So think of a lever like this on a fulcrum with a huge rock, and you need to lift it. How are you going to lift it? Well, first you set up the system. You set up the lever on a fulcrum. We're not going to go into the science of that, but just understand this is how you can lift super heavy things using technology and tools, right? And so while a lag measure tells you if you achieve the goal, the lag measure is the rock. Did you lift it? That's a yes or a no, right? Your lag measure is, I want to sell 20 houses. Well, at the end of the year, we're going to ask, did you sell 20? Yes or no, right? There's only 2 answers. And so that's the lag measure. Did you sell the 20 houses? Did you lift the rock? While the lag measure is hard to do anything about on its own, a lead measure is virtually within your control. So in this example, the lead measures is the lever. Understanding the system, understanding that if you set this up, you bring in the lever, you bring in the fulcrum, and you apply pressure on the far end of the lever, that rock's going to move. And so to move the rock, you can't focus on the rock. You have to focus on the process. You have to focus on the tools. You have to focus on the system and the science. And every single day, you can build the lever. You can build the fulcrum. You can start to apply the pressure. You can push down, push down. That's influenceable. That's something you control every single day. And as you start to push, as you start to build a system, you know you're getting there towards your lag measure of lifting the rock. And then when you've got it built and you've got it set up and you apply pressure, lo and behold, the rock moves. And then when we ask you, how did you do with your lag measure? You say, I moved the rock. And that's what you're doing in your sales. You can't set up every year a plan to have your best year ever and not build a system. And I understand if you focus on the system every day and not on, I'm going to have my best year ever. If you focus on the system, if you focus on the lead measures, you're going to wake up one day with your best year ever. And that's all this is. So lead measures can be counterintuitive. Where do leaders normally fixate? On lead measures or on lag measures? That's right, we're as guilty as you. Lag measure, Jess and I. we want to have the biggest real estate office on the West Coast. Good, fine. That sounds impressive. What are you doing every single day to make it happen? Well, I think we've been showing you, right? Every morning waking up, encourage you to be on these trainings, showing you how our tools, how our systems, how our training can allow you to increase your business. And we're looking at your participation, your activity in this Surge program every single day from 8 to 5 and beyond and in between. And we're like, yes, we're not the biggest real estate office on the West Coast, but I see the lead measures. I see everyone's activity. I see everyone's energy. And I don't know if it'll be this year or in 5 years, but if we can continue this, Jess, if we can continue building these lead measures in our office, if we continue to see this kind of activity, this kind of execution on the daily, mundane, when we have the calls and we say, I made 8 calls. Next one says, I made 10 calls. And we can measure, say, we made 50 calls today. That gets us one step closer to being the biggest real estate office on the West Coast, right? And so I hope you see this in yourself, in your peers, in the people participating. And I'm telling you, I'm excited. I don't know that I've ever worked this hard, but I can get up tomorrow and do it again because I see the progress. I see the motivation. I see the movement on the lead measures. The rock still hasn't budged, but we've got the tools, we've got the systems, and we're putting that pressure on. And I know it's going to brought. I know it's going to live. I can already see the lag measure. I can already see the finish line, right? But I just take a quick pick at that because I always focus on my wildly important goal, and then I get back to pushing, and then I get back to applying that pressure. I got to do another training tomorrow. I've got to do this tomorrow. We've got to recruit more people. We've got to bring them into the system. We've got to sit with them and look at their business plan. We've got to sit with them and look at their schedule. These are our lead measures. We'll train you and we teach you. And you're going to increase your business. And you're going to have your best year ever. 5 of you, 10 of you, 20 of you, 30 of you. And then one day we're going to wake up and say, Jess, you did it. You're now managing the biggest real estate office on the West Coast. Why? Because every single one of your agents, those you had and those you recruited, had their best years ever because we allowed them to focus on their business, build systems, build training, build the level of execution where every day they were focused on the lead measures that allowed them to satisfy their lag measures and grow their business. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? So again, the conventional thinking here, keep your eye on the lag measures. Watch that rock, the quarterly results, the sales numbers, the pounds lost, stressed out. Bite your nails while you wait. Is it moving? Is it moving? Is it moving? That's the wrong way to do it. Focus on moving the lead measures. These are the high leverage actions you take to get the lag measures to move. When Jess and I met with Gino last Saturday morning and he asked us, describe what's going on in your office. We didn't say we sold this many houses this week. We didn't say we put these many people in contract this week. We said, Gino, 8 o'clock, we've got 30, 40 people on the phone on a Zoom meeting. 9:30, we've got 10 to 20 people practicing their scripts. From 10 to 11, we've got them on the phone, dialing their sphere, dialing their contacts, right? We didn't talk about any lag measure. And Gino's response was classic, right? He goes, this is what you need to be doing. And it was like, for me, it was like satisfying, right? Because I felt that, and I've done this before, but it's still good to hear from the master, in essence, not asking us how many houses did your office sell this week. He didn't ask how many that 8 houses that agent sell. He said, tell me what your lead measures look like. And when we explain the lead measures, which are your activities, your focus, he's like, you're going to win, right? And that's what I need you to understand. All the effort, all the activity, we have to refine it. We have to get better at it. We have to improve, but you're all on the road to having your best years ever because you're doing these things. So the lag measure measures the goal. The lead measures are predictive and influenceable. So a predictive item measures something that leads to the goal. How many calls did you make? How many appointments did you have? It's influenceable, something we can influence. Well, you only made 5 calls? That won't get you to your goal. You need to make minimum of 20 calls. Well, you didn't send anything out to your farm this month? That won't get you to your goal, but that's influenceable. I need you to send something to your farm this month, right? So that's where your efforts are, predictive and influenceable. The rock is going to move, but not on its own and not immediately. And if you focus on that and are just watching it, when's it going to move? When's it going to move? When's it going to move? You're going to tire of the effort. You're going to lose focus of the effort. You're going to lose focus of what you need to be doing. But rather, when you're focusing on the lead measures, I need to make more calls. Well, I can't make more calls, but I don't have enough time. Well, then you need to time block. You need to master your schedule. Those are all influenceable. And once you set them up, they're predictable. And I've said, if we have 10 or 20 or 30 of you all doing the same thing, now our data set is massive. Now we say, well, we sent 15,000 emails last week. How many results did we get? Versus, well, I sent 5 emails. Well, you may get a response or not. You don't know what the return rate is. But if we're measuring 15,000, I can absolutely tell you. I said, well, if you had sent a 6th one, you would have got a response because on average, that's how many it takes, right? That would be great for you, predictive. So we can influence your business, your process, your systems to win. Discipline 3, keep a compelling scoreboard. We talked about this yesterday. Go and put your goals in, go and put your activities in to Moxie Engage so Jess can monitor and Jess can see, not only you individually to go in and help you as we discussed yesterday, but so we can see, am I on track to win? It's the 3rd quarter. Are we up? Are we down? And that's what all the scoreboard is. So I won't go into it too much because that's more about Jess. But remember, in Moxie Engage, on that first landing page, once you put in your goals, once you put everything, you have your own scoreboard. So you can see, I put in a goal of X number of sales this year. You put in your marketing efforts, put in your prospecting, put in your actives, put in your solds, and Moxie Engage and say, you're 60% of the way to your goal. Well, it's November. You're behind. And if you're behind in November, that means you're behind in April. And that's the whole point of a goal, a scoreboard, right? Is track, measure, and you always see where you are. You can always tinker, you can always explore. And again, Jess and I are seeing it. So if it's April and you're 30% behind your goal by that point of the year, it's a quick call, quick email. Hey, Joe, how are you doing? I see you're not tracking to your goals. Do you need any help? I see your rate of appointment is lower than the average in the office. Do you need some help there? I see you're getting the appointments, but you're not walking away with the listings. Let's sit down and look at your listing presentation. Let's practice it. Let's get the skill that you need in the place that you're lacking so that you can win, so that we can win. That's all a scoreboard is. Right? I want to make sure I get through the whole thing here. So the scoreboard has to be simple. It has to be just a few pieces. And if you remember what we showed you yesterday in your scoreboard on Moxie Engage, it's just a few things: prospecting, marketing, actives, pendings, right? You want to immediately see, are you winning or are you losing? How much time is left? What do I need to change? What do I need to add? And then the coach is watching it too. And think about the things that you're looking at and the coach is looking. On a football scoreboard, the player might just say, what down is it? It's 3rd down. Okay, I need 5 yards. The coach is thinking, all right, on average, when it's 3rd and 5 and we run, we gain this many yards. When we pass, we gain these. He's thinking about a ton of different things, and that's what Jess and I will be doing. We'll look at the scoreboard. We have the clipboard. We know your statistics. We know your numbers. We know your averages. So we're able to go in and help you and say, I think you need to run this play on this down to reach the goal that we've set. That's all a scoreboard is. Can you see it easily? Yes, you can. You all have it. It's on your hub. Showed you how to access it yesterday. Does it show lead and lag measures? Yes, it does. It shows you your closings, your pendings, your actives, your prospecting. It shows lead measures and it shows the lag measures. Can I see at a glance if you're winning? Yes, it does. It tells you what percentage are you to your goals every single day that you click in. So if you're anywhere beneath 100% on track to your goals, in the parlance of the game here, you're losing. And you need to do something to catch up. You need to change something, right? And think of it like a football game. If you always run the ball and you're losing by 2 touchdowns and there's only 5 minutes left in the game, even though your strength is running the ball, you can't win You can't possibly win by running the ball. You've got to start throwing, right? It's not your strength, but because of the scoreboard and the time left, you change your tactic out of necessity to try to win. And that's what you'll be able to do with this program. All right. So we're always giving you books to read. We're always giving you things to get better. Here's a cool thing here. Gino based his West Coast offense for business on the 4 disciplines of execution, which you can read and you should read at some point. He also applied it based part on this book, Moneyball, by Michael Lewis, which is something you can read, but the cool thing is you can watch the movie too. It's a great movie, and it starts talking about how the Oakland A's started using statistics and data and these scoreboards to understand where they were and how they could compete against the big money teams in baseball. And how they're like, we can't recruit, or we can't build, we can't prospect the way the Yankees do. And that's a lot of us, right? You look at the top producers, you look at the top performers in our business and go, well, of course they always have listings. They're spending $5,000, $10,000 a month on marketing. You have people spending $25,000 a month on Zillow, right? Well, you can't do that. Well, neither could the Oakland A's. They couldn't pay the best sluggers $25, $30 million a year. So what did they do? They said, if we can't play at that level, we'll play where they can. And we'll figure out how to find players that they don't hit 40 home runs, but they advance the ball. They tire the pitcher. They do all the little things in a very systematic way, executed at a high level, so they win at a high level. And so I encourage you to watch the movie or read that book. Think of it in the spirit of real estate. Most of us in real estate are the Oakland A's. Most of us are the small teams in small markets that don't have the budgets to compete, like the way the Boston Red Sox, the way the New York Yankees, the way the Chicago Cubs do. And you don't have to. Here's the great thing. Since that started, the A's have never won the World Series, but they're consistently winners. They're consistently way above their punching weight in terms of budgets, in terms of market size and things like that. And think about yourself in real estate, all right? You might not make the top 1,000 next year, which was just released the other day, and we had so many fine agents in our company reach it, and congratulations to them. We applaud them. We really love to see that as a company. That should motivate you. That should excite you, right? But you can be like the A's. Maybe you're not the Yankees yet. Maybe you don't have the World Series trophy. Maybe you're not going to make the top 1,000 in real estate next year. But you can damn well have your best year ever. You can increase your business by 20%, by 50%, by 100%. And if you did that, if you doubled your business in the next 12 months, you likely still won't make the top 1,000. But I can guarantee you'll be happy. I'll guarantee you, if you double your business in the next 12 months, you won't have that final trophy, but you have found the system. And once you find the way to double from 2 to 4, or from 5 to 10, or from 10 to 20, then the same system applies to double the next year. And so when I talk to agents about, would you like to sell $100 million a year in real estate? Everyone says yes. And I said, well, these are things you've got to do, or then things change, right? So all you've got to do, take some time, figure out what you think your goals are. And that's what I've been asking for 5 weeks. Send me your goals. Send me your plan. I'm an expert at Moneyball. I'm an expert on the 4 disciplines. I'm an expert in building real estate agents and growing their business. Why wouldn't you come to me? And Jess, I've told you when we started, one of the few brokers to build $1 billion office, right? Few agents in our markets have those 2 resources under one roof. Few agents in this market have the ability to go and say, how do you build something that big? Starting from wherever you are. And you have it at your disposal. So I hope you understood this. I hope you understand it and like it. I hope it motivates you to take my request for you to finish or start your business plan. finish or start your schedule, finish or start your budget of time and money, finish or start your farm of 500 homes minimum in Cupertino, Santa Clara, or Sunnyvale, turn it into us, and let us start you down the road on the 4 disciplines of execution to help you achieve the goals you set for yourself, no matter what those goals are. We'll explain the whirlwind, we'll explain the systems and tools, and we'll explain how you focus those systems and tools and training as the lead measures to move that rock. Okay? So that's all we have for today. 9:30 again, please join Ken for scripts practice and have your list ready to call on your leads from 10 to 11, and then come and report, like cadence of accountability. You're deep into 4 disciplines of execution, whether you knew it or not. So now just embrace it. Just buy into it and really supercharge your activities and your business. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you later today at 5 o'clock, and join Ken at 9:30 for your script practice.